All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're talking about a real game changer for anyone doing network automation. We're going to look at how you can use PyCharm to take a messy, clunky workflow and turn it into a single, powerful command center.
Okay, let's be real for a second. Does your daily routine for managing network gear look kind of like a digital juggling act? You know, you've got your code editor open here, an SSH client over there, maybe a separate SFTP app just to upload your scripts. It gets chaotic, and it gets chaotic fast.
And this is the painful cycle, right? You write your code on your local machine, but it has to run on a remote server. So you save it, you switch windows, you manually drag and drop to upload it, then you switch to yet another window to actually run it. And if it breaks, guess what? You start that whole loop all over again. It's not just slow, it's practically begging for your local code and remote code to get out of sync, turning tiny bugs into massive headaches.
But what if you could just collapse all of that? What if your editor, your file uploader, and your terminal were all humming along together in the same environment? Well, good news. There is a much more integrated way to work.
And this is exactly where PyCharm comes into the picture. We're not talking about it as just a code editor. Think of it as your unified toolkit, your mission control for your entire network automation set.
So, what gives it these superpowers? Well, first, remote Python interpreters. This is absolutely huge. It means you can run your scripts on the target device, right from your IDE. It's got fantastic support for all those networking libraries you depend on, NetMiko, Paramiko, Napalm, the whole crew. Plus, it has a built-in SSH terminal, so you can stop switching windows. And maybe the biggest deal of all, seamless file syncing, which puts an end to that nightmare of wondering if the code you're looking at is the same as the code that's actually run.
Okay, so that all sounds pretty great in theory, but how do we actually get it all hooked up? The first and most important step is setting up that link between your laptop and your remote servers or network devices. And PyCharm doesn't just lock you into one way of doing things. It gives you a few powerful options, each one designed for a specific kind of job. So let's take a look at the 3 main ways you can build that bridge.
All right, so your choice here really depends on what you're trying to do. If you're doing full-on project development on a remote server, you're going to want the SSH-based method. This lets you set up that remote interpreter and makes it feel like all the code is running right on your machine. Now, if you're just focused on syncing files, like for a web server, you can use the deployment option with FTP or STP. And for the really heavy-duty stuff, there's JetBrains Gateway. This thing runs the entire IDE on a big, powerful server in the cloud, and you just interact with it from a lightweight client. Pretty cool.
Now, I've mentioned this term a few times, but it's so fundamental that we need to stop and really define it. A remote interpreter. This is the magic that makes this whole thing work. It's simply the Python that's installed on your remote server or your router. PyCharm connects to it, so when you click Run on your laptop, PyCharm sends that command over SSH, and your script executes over there, on that machine, using its environment and its hardware.
And hey, here's a quick pro tip. If you're using that FTP/SFTP method for deployment, go into the settings and enable rsync. It can make your file transfers way faster because it's smart enough to only sync the little bits and pieces of a file that have actually changed. It's a small tweak, but it saves a ton of time.
So you're all connected. Now what? What does the day-to-day actually feel like? How do you keep everything straight when the code you're writing lives somewhere else entirely?
The answer, and really the whole point of this entire setup, is perfect synchronization. You want to get to a place where hitting save on your local machine is the one and only step you need to take to get that file onto the server, ready to go. No more manual uploads. Period.
And this right here is the big transformation. The before is that chaotic juggle. You edit, you manually upload, you SSH in, you cross your fingers and hope it runs, and your code versions, they always drift apart. The PyCharm way is totally integrated. You edit and your changes just upload automatically. You test right there with the built-in tools, and the most critical result of all, your local files and remote files are always in sync. And you have some seriously fine-grained control over this whole process. You can map specific folders in your project to totally different directories on the remote server. You can test the connection right from the IDE to make sure it's all working before you even start coding.
You can set up route paths and URLs so PyCharm understands the project structure over there. It's all about making your local setup a perfect mirror of your deployment target.
Okay, so let's put all these pieces together. What does a real network automation task look like from start to finish in this new streamlined world?
It looks a little something like this. Step 1, you kick off your project locally, just like always. Step 2, you configure that remote connection, picking SSH or SFTP based on your needs. Step 3, you write and debug your scripts, using all the powerful tools of the IDE, pulling in libraries like NetMiko. Step 4, you pop open the built-in terminal, SSH into a router, and watch the logs in real time as your script does its thing. And finally, Step 5, every single change you save is automatically synced and tested on the actual remote hardware. It's a beautiful, seamless loop. You know, this quote from the source material just sums it all up perfectly. PyCharm streamlines networking workflows with strong support for remote interpreters, SSH connectivity, file synchronization over secure protocols, and specialized tools for editing, testing, and deploying network automation scripts directly on remote hardware or virtual machines.
So, what's the big takeaway here? What you should really get from all this is that integrating your tools isn't just about making your life a little easier. It directly leads to more efficiency in your work, way more reliability in your code, and ultimately, a whole lot more power in your hands as an engineer. So, as you think about your own daily juggle of windows and tasks, we'll just leave you with this one question to chew on. What's the very first workflow you're going to streamline? Thanks for watching.